Ladies and gentlemen, tonight the man who single-handedly triggered a saffron wave in the state of Karnataka bid a tearful adieu to the chair of Chief Minister. Bs Yediyurappa will now pave the way for a new leadership in the state of Karnataka. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, his exit has been in the offing for a while. The veteran leader shaped BJP's phenomenal rise in the state for more than 3 decades. And tonight, he has to call it curtains. The new BJP central dispensation is clear in its approach when it comes to organizational growth. Here's what Bs Yediyurappa said in his farewell address earlier today.
ನಾನು ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಯಿಂದ ನನಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒತ್ತಡ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾನೇ ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವತ್ತು 26ನೇ ತಾರೀಕು 2 ವರ್ಷ ತುಂಬಿರುವಂಥ ಈ ಶುಭ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರಿಗೂ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಗಬೇಕು, ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾನೇ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಹೊರತು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಧಾನಿ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಮಿತ್ ಶಾ ಆಗಲಿ ಯಾರ್ದು ಒತ್ತಾಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾನೇ ವಾಲಂಟಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಜನತೆಗೆ ಈ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟದ್ದಾಗಿ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಯನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿ ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಶಿಕಾರಿಪುರ ತಾಲೂಕಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಯನ್ನು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ
Before I get to why Yediyurappa's exit has sparked off a political war in Delhi, let me focus first on why he had to go. There is this unsaid rule in the BJP, the party that believes that 75 is a deadline and political activity after that will have to wait because there is a new generation that must relate to the public, to the people of India. And BSY had already touched the age of 78. The party wanted a new outlook leadership for the state, with several youngsters displaying potential and having broken through the ranks, needed an opportunity to show their mettle. A highly competitive political state with Congress and JDS always chipping away at the wheels of the BJP, the party has sought this change with 2024 in mind. With BJP evolving itself as a party that seeks excellence and aims to maintain party parity, looking at this opportunity to keep the organization sharp and in shape for bigger challenges up ahead. But the Congress party was blunt today, calling the move as an autocratic move. Listen in.
येडियुरप्पा जी और जो कर्नाटक के मुख्यमंत्री की गद्दी है उसका एक बड़ा ही विचित्र घटनाक्रम रहा है. मुझे याद है जब 2008 में भी ये मुख्यमंत्री बने थे तो कोई लंबा कार्यकाल ये पूरा नहीं कर पाए थे. तो कई लोगों के भाग्य में सिर्फ इतना ही मुख्यमंत्री का कार्यकाल लिखा होता है. अब भाजपा उनको क्यों बदल रही है, उसके क्या कारण हैं, उस पे क्या प्रेशर्स ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं, ये तो भाजपा वाले ही जवाब दे पाएंगे.
As far as the cabinet is concerned, will it be same or will it be a complete reshuffle that will happen?
That's a $1 billion question bid.
Sir, now there are talks of you being the next chief minister as well, considering your.
See, let me tell you that there is no race. Okay. It is only a decision, and High Command will have complete information and views of everybody, party, MLAs, and everybody. And whatever the decision the High Command takes, everybody should abide by it.
For all that the Congress preaches, perhaps it should just glance into its own backyard. Congress leadership perhaps must nurse the wounds of Captain Amrinder Singh, who was hemmed in to bring Sidhu to cut his wings. Even today, while they claim all is well in Rajasthan, they're struggling to keep rival camps at peace between Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot. The open squabbling in Kerala not only cost them the state but also seems to have no vision left for the Congress party and the cadre in the state. And finally in Karnataka, Siddaramaiah and DK Shivkumar at loggerheads, creating further trouble for the party. And not to forget, Chhattisgarh is another boiling pot waiting to boil over any day. And that brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. Is Congress criticism of autocracy in the BJP misplaced? That's the question and the debate. Karnataka CM Kaun. That's the hashtag and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Dr. Sambit Patra, national spokesperson of the BJP, Shehzad Poonawala, lawyer. Also with me tonight, Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist, and my former colleague, Dhanya Rajendran. Pleasure to have you back on Times Now. She, of course, now heads the News Minute digital outfit. Was my colleague in the Times Now not so long ago. Also joining the debate is Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. But my first question goes to Ms. Sujata Paul, political analyst. Sujata Paul, Congress calling the BJP autocratic. Now, that is something that would really set the cat amongst the pigeons. What you did in Punjab, what is going on in Rajasthan is before the public's eyes. And let's see what happened in Kerala, recent elections. We saw what happened there. To say that the BJP is autocratic just because it said BSY at 78 needed to exit and give the young leadership a fresh beginning, a fresh connect with the Janata, average age of which is much lower than where Bs Yediyurappa came from. How is that autocratic, Sujata Paul?
First of all, was the BJP sleeping till now? He's reached the age of 78 while being in power. So how is it that this holds any value? We know that corruption charges have been made on him, and his son, who is the vice president of the Karnataka BJP, is the proxy CM over there, and it is factionalism, which is one of the main causes, in addition to the corruption charges on him, which has made the BJP remove him. It is their personal matter, and we have nothing to do with it. But everything is centralized. Everything has to be done by the Prime Minister at the center. So whether it is Karnataka or Assam, look at Assam. Himanta Biswa Sarma wanted to be the chief minister, so Sarbananda Sonowal had to be adjusted. Look at Uttarakhand, three chief ministers and how many state chiefs. Look at all the other parties where you have so many factions. You look at Gujarat, Nitin Patil, Vijay Rupani, C.R. Patil, Rajasthan, Vasundhara Raje Scindia. I can just go on and on. So what are we being told? We know very well that those tears were tears of helplessness and hopelessness that Mr. Yediyurappa was shedding because he has no say in the matters of Karnataka. He has had to resign, and he has been made to say that there is no pressure. Otherwise, why would he say that?
मैडम, पता नहीं आपने अखबार पढ़ा कि नहीं, पर कैप्टन अमरिंदर सिंह तो बहुत नाराज थे नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू का जब उनको पीसीसी चीफ बनाया था. शायद आपने पढ़ा नहीं होगा अखबारों में, टीवी भी नहीं देखा होगा, और शायद आपको लगता है नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू वाला डिसीजन पंजाब में हुआ था. एक्चुअली यहाँ पे हुआ था प्रियंका गांधी जी वाड्रा जी के साथ और राहुल गांधी जी के साथ. maybe that has escaped you, but let me get in Dr. Sambit Patra. Dr. Sambit Patra, wide-eyed innocence coming from Congress and Congress supporters. Are you surprised?
Navika, before I reply to what the political analyst who is confused whether she's an analyst or a politician, before I reply to her, let me first go back to Karnataka and say that this exit of Yediyurappa ji has been very graceful. The gesture of Yediyurappa ji has been really magnanimous, and he is indeed a great contributor to Bhartiya Janata Party. And the way he has travelled, the political journey, is something which would be celebrated for years to come. And let me also conclude by saying that I have no doubt that in the future, Mr. Yediyurappa is going to be a contributor as far as Bhartiya Janata Party's functioning in Karnataka and otherwise is concerned. Having said that, now let me come back to the topic. Look at the two issues which happened recently. We are talking about Yediyurappa, who himself said that whatever he is doing voluntarily, and he would revitalize the party, number one. Number two, in fact, we were talking about Assam. Look at the graciousness with which two brothers, I would say, look at them, Himanta Biswa Sarma as well as Sarbananda Sonowal, both of them almost almost like brothers in arms. They agreed to everything smiling. There was no acrimony, no animosity, and this is what a real political family is. And this is where the difference lies. The family in the Congress party and the larger family of the Bhartiya Janata Party. Look at the difference with the Congress party. In Congress party, I'm so sorry, madam was so busy looking outside of the window that the house inside has caught fire. Look at, Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar. The elections are far off. No elections have happened. No CM is to be elected right now or selected. But they're fighting cats and dogs as to who would be CM, say, 60 or 70 years from now. Look at what is happening in Bhupesh Baghel's area in Chhattisgarh today. Today, a very important development has happened. One of the ministers of Chhattisgarh has accused Mr. T.S. Singhdeo, the health minister, of attempting murder on him. A Congress MLA saying that Congress's health minister in Chhattisgarh, in a bid to become chief minister and to oust Bhupesh Baghel, has attempted murder on me. That is Brihaspati Singh. His name is Brihaspati Singh. What is happening in Rajasthan today? Look at the acrimony between Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot. ये निकम्मा है, ये नकारा है, ये खाली अंग्रेजी बोलने वाला है. I mean, this is the kind of acrimony that is happening between Sidhu and Captain Amrinder Singh. ये तो मेरा कैप्टन नहीं है. मेरा कैप्टन तो राहुल गांधी है. कोई और मेरा कैप्टन है. And despite all this, I'll just end by saying that, Sujata ji, first you decide whether you are a political analyst as you were introduced or you are a Congress spokesperson, because right now you said we have no complaint in the Congress party. But you were, in fact, introduced over here as a political analyst. So confusion is everywhere across the Congress party.
She introduced me as a supporter.
Not analyst. Correction. Yeah? Navika, correction is required.
So
she is a supporter.
All right. Can I answer? All right. So, who is the great contributor? Is he going into the Margdarshak Mandi like Advani ji? And look at Uttarakhand. You've given us 3 chief ministers. And my dear friend, Dr. Patra, let me tell you that at 12 midnight, if the situation is not okay, then I will not be able to connect with you, because it is going to be tools down for the power department of the 4th assembly of Uttarakhand, which has got its 3rd BJP chief minister, and none of them have been able to deliver. Everybody is on the street. So similarly, in Karnataka also, we know what happened to the Prerna Educational Trust and JSW matter. We know how the agricultural land was transferred. Of course, in that particular matter, Mr. Yediyurappa got a clean sheet. But you also will have to agree that in February 2020,
येडियुरप्पा जी को जाना ही नहीं चाहिए था. पर आप तो कह रही है कि येडियुरप्पा को तो जाना ही नहीं चाहिए था. तो अब आपको ये कहां से याद आ गई ये सब? आप तो कह रहे हैं द बीजेपी इज ऑटोक्रेटिक.
मैं यही कह रही हूँ आपको कि everything is centralized.
What are you saying? What is your problem? I'm not understanding the Congress's problem with Mr. Yediyurappa's resignation. What is it that you're saying? Are you saying that he had to resign because he had some charges against him? Are you saying the BJP is autocratic because he has had to resign? Are you saying that because he has said I'm resigning because of my own free will and I will work for the party, that is also a problem? What are you saying, Sujata ji? मुझे समझ ही नहीं
I'm telling you. मैं बता रही हूँ. समझने में बहुत सिंपल है. अगर सब कुछ centralized नहीं होता, then the legislators would have elected their own chief minister, and that person would have been accountable. Here what has happened is everything from the beginning till now and even further is going to be autocratic. Whatever Mr. Modi will decide, that is going to happen in the state. This is not how the federalism in our country works.
Dr. Patra, why are the legislators not choosing their leader? Why are you dictating from the center? That's the point that Sujata ji is making. Respond to.
But Sujata ji, sorry, the Congress supporter has no patience, you know. I mean, it would be the legislators who would be selecting. The process is yet to start. And in fact, though I'm not aware when the process will start, but in fact the news channels are showing that soon, in fact, a decision would be made. That is what the process is. It's the legislators who will elect their leader. There would be a proposer, there would be a seconder, there would be someone from the center as well. This is how it moves. Now, Navika, as far as autocracy is concerned, let me remind you what autocracy really is. Autocracy is when a person who is non-elected, in fact, he is not a representative minister or anything, who is not accountable to power, but yet tears, in fact, tears into the ordinance of an elected Prime Minister in public. When Rahul Gandhi, in fact, throws the ordinance of the Parliament of India, brought about by their own Prime Minister, into a dustbin, that is autocracy, and says, nonsense hai ye. That is autocracy. Autocracy is when Sonia Gandhi throws Kesri ji into the bathroom. That is autocracy. This is not autocracy. This is democracy. And let me tell you, Navika, what is Kamraj plan? In fact, we have Shekhar Iyer over here, the brightest amongst all of us. And let me tell you what Kamraj plan is. The Kamraj plan of the 1960s of the Congress party was when Mr. Kamraj, the then tall leader of Tamil Nadu, resigned and said, let me revitalize the Congress party. That was the original Kamraj plan. I'm astonished. The Kamraj plan has been forgotten by the Congress party itself.
I would also like to
Shekhar
add
Iyer,
that
you've been called. No, 1 minute, Sujata ji. Let me get in Shekhar. I'm getting you, Tehseen. Shekhar Iyer ka naam bulaya, unse pehle pooch lu. Shekhar Iyer. Now the BJP is being called autocratic. Do you think that charge is very correct? Because the Kamraj plan and the Congress wants us to believe that everything that happens in the Congress party is democratic. So where do you stand on this, Shekhar Iyer?
No, there is a difference between the decision-making process in the BJP and the Congress. Well, in the Congress, the decision is taken by the Gandhi siblings, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi. And this time, credit for appointing Navjot Singh Sidhu as PCC chief goes to Priyanka Gandhi. We have had several reports in the newspapers, appreciating the fact that Priyanka, who is facing problem in UP, is now looking to Sidhu to bail out Punjab, so that at least she can say that one of her decisions has been a good success for the Congress. Now that apart, when it comes to Yediyurappa and BJP have been synonymous in Karnataka. There is no doubt about it. And Yediyurappa of 2012 is not Yediyurappa of 2021. See, in 2012, he was very upset with the fact that he was not allowed to have his way in Karnataka and left the BJP and formed his own party. And in 2013, in the Karnataka Assembly elections, his fledgling party also suffered and the BJP also suffered because he managed to take away 9% votes. But cut to 2021, the scenario is different. Yediyurappa has actually reconciled to the fact that age is a factor for him. He has had health issues, but his concern has been that some of his close associates are accommodated to the new dispensation. Now, the reason for the Congress being unhappy with Yediyurappa's removal is because they fear, with the BJP going for a younger leadership, going for a younger lot, perhaps the challenge that they face in 2018 could get more serious than if Yediyurappa were to continue. That is a simple reason. Otherwise, Yediyurappa personally has good equations with many Congress leaders, including DK Shiv Kumar. Have you ever heard DK Shiv Kumar making any allegation or criticism of Yediyurappa? No. It is Siddaramaiah who keeps attacking Yediyurappa because it is Yediyurappa, who displays Siddaramaiah. And you saw that arrangement which was between Kumaraswamy and Congress. So therefore, Yediyurappa's exit is actually ringing alarm bells for the Congress because it's going to get tough for the Congress because of the warring factions in the party as well as the challenges they face. Yes, BJP has a tough call. It has to choose. It has to make up its mind.
तहसीन पूनावाला, आपकी कांग्रेस को ये सब ऑटोक्रेटिक इसलिए नजर आ रहा है क्योंकि झगड़ा चल रहा है. पंजाब में झगड़ा है कैप्टन सिद्धू का, राजस्थान में गहलोत सचिन पायलट का, छत्तीसगढ़ में है टीएस सिंहदेव और भूपेश बघेल का, और कर्नाटका में डीके शिव कुमार और सिद्धारमैया का. I want to ask you, with Yediyurappa going, the fact is the factionalism in the Congress party is going to be out there in the open. And the BJP is going to get a younger leader, and that is where alarm bells, Shekhar Iyer says, are ringing in the Congress party. Please respond to that charge.
Ma'am, you're a student of history, one of the most well-read journalists of our times, and you will recollect that in the 5 years of the BJP government in Karnataka, they gave 3 chief ministers tumbling and stumbling. It was Siddaramaiah ji who gave a stable government. Then came in the BJP, and the dancing chairs or the musical chairs in Karnataka has again started. But more importantly, and I want to make this very clear on your show, this is an absolute insult to the entire Lingayat community that looks up to Yediyurappa ji, somebody who all of us have a lot of respect for, because he's been a tall leader of the state of Karnataka and has led Karnataka and led the BJP in Karnataka to victory. He opened the doors for the BJP in South India. So this is also an insult to the Lingayat community. But I want to end by saying one last line. Had the Congress changed 3 chief ministers in Uttarakhand or 1 chief minister in Karnataka over a space of 20 days, they would have been mayhem and chaos about how the Gandhis have failed. The Gandhis managed Punjab. They managed Rajasthan. They're managing Chhattisgarh. It is the Narendra Modi government and Amit Shah ji and Modi ji, despite Pegasus, that are failing.
Democratically or autocratically?
BJP
democratically or autocratically? समझा दो, हमें समझ नहीं आया.
BJP will be reduced to 36 to 40 seats in Karnataka in the next election. Take this in writing, play this on your show when the Karnataka results come. BJP is going to come down to 40 seats in Karnataka. Take it on a stamp paper from me. And about Shiv Kumar and Siddaramaiah, while they were in Delhi to prepare the party strategy ahead, because one heads the assembly and one heads the party. So it was a strategy ahead for Karnataka. BJP will not cross 40 seats in Karnataka. Take it in writing.
Shehzad Poonawalla, respond to your lesser known brother, Tehseen Poonawalla, if I can take a pot shot at him.
No, I can't be.
How am I lesser known? I'm more intelligent, better looking, and I'm more popular. How am I lesser known? That you're mistaken on.
Oh my God.
Navika, I firmly believe
better looking.
Oh God.
Can I come in, Navika? Navika, I cannot fault any Congress.
Yes, Shehzad.
इतना तो करीना कपूर
We
और
allow
उसकी बहन
not
के
so
बीच में
good
भी नहीं
looking
होता है.
people also to speak.
Navika, I cannot fault
इतना
Congress.
तो करीना कपूर और करिश्मा कपूर भी नहीं लड़ती हैं.
Whenever we are ready for me to speak. Whenever you are ready, Navika, I'll speak.
Yes, Shehzad.
As long as you speak sense.
Yeah. Navika, I firmly believe that Congress and the Congress supporters should not be woken up from their slumber, whether it is Rahul Gandhi dreaming to be Prime Minister or Tehseen Poonawalla wanting to be more known than the other Poonawallas. But anyways, that's not a problem. That's not the subject of the debate. पहले तो हिंदी में एक कहावत है कि जिनके घर शीशे के होते हैं वो दूसरों पर पत्थर नहीं फेंका करते. And we have Dhanya Rajendra, one of the foremost analysts and person who's covered so much of politics. She will remember how Rajiv Gandhi insulted many CMs of South India and how the Congress party after that has had a declining fortune in these states. But anyways, I don't want to get into who's insulted which community. And I would also like to remind some people who are sitting on this panel, when was the last time they have given a Lingayat as a CM, that they have become the custodians of Lingayat community. But anyways, that's not the issue. Also, they would forget that how they gave multiple CMs during their term, Dharam Singh and Mr. The other CM that was there before Mr. Dharam Singh, and how he was insulted is also well known. How the aged Mr. CM of Congress party was removed from his post. But that's not the point of debate. The debate is that what is the problem if the BJP looks forward to creating a younger leadership? The BJP in state after state is investing in younger people. You take a look at Yogi Adityanath, Mr. Dhami, Mr. Biplab Deb, Mr. Hemanta Biswa Sarma, or you look at the cabinet, many of their CMs or the people whom they've taken in the cabinet are below age of 50. And therefore, if the BJP is now making a conscious decision to move towards that direction, and they have not disrespected Mr. Yediyurappa, in fact, they have given him much courtesy, and in fact, despite crossing the age of 78, he was given an opportunity to serve for 2 years. Now he has to also make space, and he's making space voluntarily. Then what is the problem of the Congress party, which can't manage its affairs in Punjab, Haryana, Maharashtra, Kerala, in most states that you see, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, they are unable to manage their own affairs. As far as the autocratic nature of Prime Minister Modi is concerned, the Congress party should be the last one lecturing. Every CM given by them is handpicked by one family. Secondly, Ms. Sujata Paul was very surprised that the Prime Minister is having so much control. Obviously, she'll be surprised because in her term, she would be remembering that Sonia Gandhi had all the control. And finally, if Rahul Gandhi, without being a party leader, can solve the disputes between two leaders of Punjab Congress, or he can solve the disputes between two leaders of Rajasthan Congress, then why can't the central leadership of the BJP, why central observers, have a say in what should be the political future of Karnataka along with the legislatures of Karnataka Assembly? So I think this debate is quite hypocritical. It's as hypocritical as some people believing that they are better looking and more intelligent than they are actually.
Well, hypocritical or not is one part of the story, but let me get in Dhanya Rajendran. Dhanya Rajendran, I want to ask you that why is the Congress so upset, number one, about, the change of guard that's taking place in Karnataka with Yediyurappa's exit? And number two, how's the BJP going to manage the problem of plenty? Because virtually every MLA in Karnataka fancies his chances as the next Chief Minister of Karnataka. Dhanya.
Okay, the first part of your question as to why is the Congress upset, I think in the last 2 weeks when Bs Yediyurappa met all those Lingayat seers, he also met Congress MLAs who had sort of projected him as the tallest Lingayat leader, and that they would also be upset if Bs Yediyurappa is removed. So what the Congress is playing at is to talk to the Lingayat community in Karnataka and tell them that, look, the BJP has sidelined your leader. This is how much they value your community. That's the message that the Congress is trying to put across. By sympathizing with Bs Yediyurappa's removal, they're clearly trying to fish in troubled waters. That's one. Now, Mr. Shambit Patra spoke about Kamaraj and how Kamaraj had resigned and he wanted to build the Congress in Tamil Nadu at one point of time. I don't know if that comparison can be done with Bs Yediyurappa, because as far as we know, he did resign on July 10th, or at least he handed over resignation to the Prime Minister. But despite that, despite Bs Yediyurappa clearly knowing that his time was up, he came back to Bengaluru and he did this whole drama for around 1 week where seers would meet him, pontiffs would meet him, different leaders would meet him, and then they would say that Bs Yediyurappa cannot be removed as the Chief Minister. On the other side, Yediyurappa would come and say, I will listen to whatever the High Command says. So Yediyurappa clearly knows that he has to step down as a Chief Minister, but he now intends that the next Chief Minister, the next cabinet, will have a lot of his confidants, including his son. And one more thing I want to say, that the topic itself talks about is the Congress's criticism of the BJP that they are autocratic, wrong. Both the national parties, I think, are now becoming very Delhi-centric. I mean, this was a criticism the BJP had for the Congress, that they were Delhi-centric. Now the same thing is happening to the BJP. They have many reasons to remove Bs Yediyurappa, but eventually the next leader they would bring here is definitely someone who would listen more to the High Command. And that is what has been happening. And in 2012, Mr. Patra also said that the party has been very disciplined, everybody follows what the leadership says. But let's not forget what happened in 2011 and 12 when Bs Yediyurappa had to step down after the mining allegations. Sadananda Gowda and Jagdish Shettar were brought in as Chief Ministers. They were both Yediyurappa's compromise candidates, but Yediyurappa fought with them. They had a misunderstanding, and then we saw resort politics. So my only doubt is, whoever the next Chief Minister is, Deputy Chief Minister is, or the next cabinet is, can the BJP keep its flock together? Because every time we have seen dissent within the BJP in Karnataka.
But Dhanya Rajendran, I know it's very convoluted there in Karnataka. I'm running out of time, Sambit Patra, but who's your favorite? Who are you betting on, Dhanya Rajendran, since you have your ear to the ground? Who do you think is going to be the next Chief Minister of Karnataka?
Well, to the credit of the BJP, they're keeping it a big secret. But I would say if it is a Lingayat leader, I would go for Nirani or Arvind Bellad. If it is a non-Lingayat leader, I go for Prahalad Joshi or BL Santosh. So I have 4 options.
Well, 4 options going out there, but whichever way you look at it, the Congress party of all parties calling this an autocratic move clearly has raised some eyebrows, because That's the only way Congress knows how to operate. Every decision made in Delhi and implemented in states. In some states, well, the decision is pending in Delhi and therefore the knives are out in the states. What is the Congress going to say about that? But whichever way you look at it, it's a very interesting days, next couple of days in Karnataka, as two central observers are headed to Bengaluru to sit with all the MLAs and figure out what's the High Command's message and what is the choice of the MLAs of Karnataka. Well, transfer of power from Bs Yediyurappa to Gen Next. Who will it be? We'll keep you posted. Taking a short break, as I say, thank you to all my panelists, the well-known ones, the popular ones, and the good-looking ones. All of you, thank you very much for joining me on the News Hour tonight. Taking a short break.